one of the main things I hear from you, whether you're sliding in my DM on Instagram or whether you are working in a one-on-one coaching session with me, the one consistent thing that I hear is problems with video consistency. You want to make amazing videos, you're trying to do what the other YouTubers are doing, and you are struggling to figure out how to do that with everything else that you have to do in your business to keep it popping.
Awesome. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast. I am your host, Cody Kelly. Look, I say this all the time, I appreciate all of my guests. I appreciate my fans. I appreciate the viewers. I appreciate everyone. But if you want to keep seeing amazing content, you got to do two things, and these two entities need to sponsor me. You got to follow me on two of my favorite platforms. The first one is Instagram at CVMK33, and the second one, when it comes up, is on YouTube at CVSpaceK, and where all podcasts are heard, whatever your podcast preference. Doesn't matter if it's Google, Apple, Stitcher, however, wherever, we're there. I have an amazing guest, an amazing episode today featuring Trina. She's going to show us really what makes her this amazing confidence and visibility coach. And I think this is essential because a lot of times for not just professionals, for creatives, for everybody really, you need somebody to bring out the best you. So I asked Trina to be on the show. She acquiesced, and I appreciate Trina so much. So with that being said, Trina, how you doing today?
Acquiesce. I like that. I like your vocabulary.
I went to school, I passed kindergarten, so,
I love it. I'm in for it. I'm here for it. Yeah, so I am good. Thank you so much for having me. It's kind of funny. I was like interviewing people all day today, so now I'm on the other side of it. So yeah, let's do this.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Well, look, first of all, what the heck? I mean, I know what a visibility coach is, but for those who do not know, because they're like, visibility coach, because, explain to the layman, what confidence and visibility, what does that mean to you, and what should that mean for them?
Yeah, it's all about switching from invisible to visible right now. But it really is about, there are so many like heart-centered and mission-driven people in the world. And right now we have this great opportunity. We used to have gatekeepers, right? So if you wanted to be on the news, if you wanted to be in front of a big audience, you had to get producers and directors and all these different talent scouts and PR agents. And you had to get all of these people behind you to stamp an approval of yes before you could reach your target audience. And now we have these great platforms like a couple that you're on, YouTube and Anchor, and all of these different things that we can use to have our message heard. And I really just am an advocate for people who are heart-centered, but a little shy, or maybe not even shy, because, extroverts, even people that are very charismatic in person, can sometimes get a really kind of draw in when the camera comes on, or they may be able to be on camera, but not know how to master it enough to really engage an audience. And so that's where I come in. So my background is in broadcasting. I did all the television stuff. I worked on big budgets and low budgets and no budgets. So I really just bring all of that to my clients so that I can help them to step up, stand out, and shine like the stars they are.
I like it. I think it's absolutely needed. It's beyond essential. I think one of the struggles is how do I move this skill set that I have and make it so, I don't want to say popular, that's not the word, but make it so recognizable that it starts attracting the response I'm looking for, right? Like, I think a lot of professionals, and I don't think just business owners, right? Like, I obviously, if anybody knows me and from my LinkedIn background, I operate in a couple different spaces. So, there's obviously this right here, what we're doing, and then obviously is what I do professionally that kind of fuels and feeds this. And it's how do I merge the two worlds? How can I create something that is literally autonomous? I won't say autonomous, but literally working on behalf of me. And therefore, I can kind of feed into that system. Trina, I guess the question I'm trying to get to is, I don't know if a lot of people have a good sense. And I think it first starts with how they want to be perceived, right? I think it's identity, right? Yes. How do you first start there? Because I feel like that's step 3 and 4, but I feel like the first step is identity. Walk us through. I'm a new client.
Yeah.
You know, I'm coming to you. I'm saying, hey, look, I got a company called Bald Men. It's where all the bald men in the world, we hang out and we just talk, right? Like, how do I go from identity to actually attracting the customer?
Yeah. And this is really interesting, right? Because I work with clients who are just starting out, as well as some that might already be really well established with their brands, their identities, and then those that are pivoting. Maybe they've been known for something. So in your case, maybe you've been known in the corporate world for something, and now you're getting ready to start this bald men club. And and the first thing is to really identify exactly who you're speaking to. So it's really good if the avatar is very similar to you. So i.e. you have a personal story and a personal connection. I always tell my clients that a brand needs to start at the intersection of your personal story and where you want to make impact. So a lot of people will just have a passion for something, but they lack a personal story that connects to it. So for example, I'm a confidence and visibility coach. And part of the reason that I do that is because even though my degree's in broadcasting, I did broadcasting, TV, radio, basically you name it, and those things. But when it came to starting my own brand and being on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, again, you name it. I say that a lot. So if I say it too much, like just stop me mid-sing, like mid-octave.
It's your show. Go for it. Go for it.
But yes, but the most important thing is that my story is that even though I had all of these professional skill sets working on production sets of all different budgets, when it came to creating my own content, I felt like I was on this hamster wheel of always being overwhelmed, fatigued, not really knowing what exactly to talk about, not sure how to engage with my people, and just kind of being in overwhelm of like, yes, I can do video, I can show up, but like, is there a strategy? Is there a formula? Because I'm like grasping for straws here. And it's hard to stay consistent with that. And one of the most important things when you are launching into something, so if you do want to connect with those bald men, you need to show up consistently for them. So once we've identified, okay, I want to work with bald millennial men who are, whatever, this socioeconomic status, these psychographics, what are they feeling? Oh, I remember how I felt when I just had to let it go, or, you know what I mean? Those feelings that happen. And so what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, I'm going to meet them where they are, because even though maybe now I'm very well acclimated, I've got my grooming techniques, I've got all of my products and everything, I got to remember where I was when this first happened, when I was at the crossroads, so that I can emotionally connect, video, audio, whatever. That's the first thing, is you've got to have an emotional connection with people, no matter what medium you're using. So that is always the first step that I tell all of my clients. We've got to start at day one. We've got to start with exactly what your identity is, what's your why, and who are your people. And then we can talk about where they are, right? Then that's where we can start to get strategic about where you're going to put your video content once we've identified that personal connection and that emotional connection that you're going to have with your audience. And so that's kind of the founding stages. So would that kind of give you the feel for just like how that would start?
That makes sense. I would, bald preachers like myself and all preachers that struggle with hair loss. That makes a lot of sense. Where do people make their first mistake? I feel like you hit upon it. You talk about building that story, that emotional connection piece. Obviously, as I see more and more entities kind of pop up, right? I feel like it's no longer about the emotional connection, right? Like I can't tell you the value prop of a lot of these entities. I just know what they sell, and it's more like the more polished it can be, the more, that's going to be the driver instead of the why. There's no why behind this anymore, right? Do you think that's creating an adverse effect? Like, is it developing it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a brand, a company and a brand have to obviously be simultaneously corrected. But do you think that going without the why is a dangerous misstep.
Yeah, it is. It is a huge misstep. And the reason I say it, it's because of multiple things, right? Because you've got to have some conviction. It's not easy. And your marketplace, we live in a world today where everyone can start something. And I specifically work with content creators and coaches. So anyone can kind of start a podcast. You got a microphone, you can log in, you got good Wi-Fi. Anyone can upload a video to YouTube. And so the playing field is a bit more saturated. I don't like to think in a scarcity mindset, but let's just be real. The gate and the door is right there for everyone. It's very accessible is basically what we're saying. So having a strong why that drives you. Why do you want to do this thing? Why does it matter? Why do these people matter to you? Because a lot of times these things start out very ego, right? They start out very ego, right? I want followers. I want to be rich. I want to be an influencer. I want to be balling, and we get a lot of that superficiality fed to us through these platforms, these same platforms that can be used for a lot of good, right? But with all of that visual stimulation, the only thing that's going to keep you in the game is having that emotional connection for yourself, but also with your people. Because it's when someone sends you that message, and I'm sure you felt this before with your podcast of like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like this uplifted me. I was feeling this. This is exactly what I needed to hear. God was in alignment, the universe, everything. And like, I'm so glad that I heard this from you. I'm so glad. And when you have those tough days, when you're not getting the likes, you're not getting the views on YouTube, you're not getting the downloads, that is what you need to drive you, is your why. Because you can't hang on to these vanity metrics and expect them to be a fuel. Because what is that saying of like, what isn't, oh gosh, don't you hate it when you have a phrase and it's like, it's so good, but it's on the tip of my brain. But basically, to paraphrase, it's something along the lines of what is not good enough to feed you is never going to get you full. So basically, these superficial, the vanity metrics, the likes, these things that it's not enough because it's going to waver. But what won't waver is a very heart-centered, deep connection to the people that you want to serve and show up for, whatever those reasons are. And so that's why the personal connection is so important for you as an entrepreneur. And then for you to then be able to communicate that using video. Because here's the cool thing about video, right? Just like we're doing right now, it's one thing for someone to kind of hear our voices, listen to the inflections and the tones and hear all of those different things. But it's even more when they can see all of these mannerisms and all of my nonverbal communication. This is what helps to build that know, like, and trust factor. So when we're talking about having super fans or raving fans or having people that are like crazy about your brand, crazy about whatever, and like if you pivot from doing ball to like doing politics, they are with you because they are with you. Right. You know what I mean? And so this is the way to build a personal brand, but it's also good for product businesses and so many other types of businesses. But specifically where I serve is with service-oriented types of businesses. And this is where you get to build that know, like, and trust factor. And you have, people think that you need, people are so hung up on getting the blue check mark and having 10,000 or 12,000 or 50,000 and all of this. You can build a business on 1,000 hardcore ride or die fans that will buy whatever. You make a coffee mug, they are going to buy it. You know what I mean? You make a t-shirt with a quote that you always say on your podcast, they're about to buy it. So I think that one of the things is people get, again, vanity. We think about the numbers, we think about all of that. But what I try to get my clients to focus on is when you focus on your why, the people that resonate with you are going to be drawn to you. And let's not worry about the numbers at first. Let's get you comfortable showing up, being confident, and being consistent on camera first. So I know that was like a lot.
No, that was good. That was good. I was taking down notes. Trust me, I've been writing the whole time. I'm about to throw you a curveball, right?
Oh, I'm ready for it.
So, when it comes to the different niches in life, so you have your professional side, you got your LinkedIn, you got the perfectly cropped photo. You actually see mine down below. I think I have the same suit on, and it's a different tie. That's brown, that's blue, but it is the same suit. But you see kind of your IG live, Facebook, and you start seeing it. It starts painting this picture of humanity. So when it comes to ministry, so this is going to be hard because, I serve in a ministry, and obviously you don't want to have an ego-driven focus because that would be antithetical to the mission of the gospel. But you can't also think that you can operate in the 21st century in 2021 and further without a brand, right? Without recognition, subscribers, right? There's a lot of churches out there that are now growing and kind of becoming YouTube megaliths, right? Kind of not conglomerates, but definitely whales in the space. How should they do that? Because that's an interesting, talk track, right? Because for them, ideally, it shouldn't be, revenue minded, right? And super fans isn't necessarily the terminology, but it's the same, the same premise, same, human action. So how should they go about it? So for those pastors out there, because I know I'm connected to a lot of pastors, for those pastors out there listening,
I mean, a pastor to me, a pastor and a heart-centered coach are kind of very parallel, kind of mission-based people, because you have to be connected to your spiritual why. Like, why are you spiritually doing this work? And if you are grounded in that purpose, that calling, so if you are grounded in that, then it is imperative that you make that message and you utilize the tools of 2020, 21, AI, whatever's coming on the forefront, right? But it is imperative. It is also so beneficial. I mean, the year that we've just been through with how many churches were having to figure out how to use Zoom so that their members could still be spiritually fed. So, I mean, here's the thing. If you are a minister, you have your flock, you have your people, you have your congregation, you have your members, and you want to serve them. And whether it's about growing and expanding your message and your reach, or whether it is just about serving the people that are already members of your church, again, however you minister. But I mean, oh my God, like I actually have done work for the Potter's House because that's the whole point. It's like, if you talk about whales in the space, TD Jakes is definitely one of them, undeniably.
He is.
and he has used video to convey his message. I mean, Joel Osteen, Pastor Furtick, like there are so many big players in the space. And so all you want to do is reverse engineer. Like every coach, every pastor, every minister is going to have their own voice, right? You're preaching from the same book, but you've got your own life experiences to pull from. You have your own congregation. You know what your people need, right? So this is just an extension of the same medium that you're already using. You understand that? Like we're just talking about you getting in front of your computer with a laptop, or maybe you've got a fancier setup and you've got a camera that's connected to your laptop, whatever you have going on, or maybe it's just your phone, and the whole idea is this is just a vehicle for you to be accessible to your people. So when we talk about a why, I can't think of a better, stronger reason why to do something than to spiritually feed those people that need to hear the message that only you can give.
That makes sense. I like it. I've been listening. I've been sitting there like my ears open.
But what you're doing is a prime example of this, right? You're not only making this available audibly, but you're also making this, I don't even think that's a word, audibly. But anyway, it may be an app, but it's not a word. but I digress. But the big point here that I'm driving home is that you're a prime example. So if anyone is a minister and a peer in your space, they want to take some notes from what you're doing, because you're making this accessible on 2 platforms. It's one thing that you're doing. This is however long this is going to be, 20, 30 minutes long. Right. And that's it. But you're going to have it available on 2 types of platforms. Here's the thing. When you're thinking about audio, right? Apps like Clubhouse, podcasts, and these are making audio just shoot through the roof. Well, when people are listening to audio, a lot of times they're multitasking, right? So they might be working on an Excel spreadsheet at their job and listening to you. They might be on their way to work and listening to you. With a video, they're sitting down and they're doing just what you did a few minutes ago. They're taking notes. It's a different ability. This is why, your favorite singers do both. They make a video. They make a video for their song. It's because the visual experience is more robust, more senses are involved. But when we have the audio experience, it's complementary, because with audio, we're a bit more focused. Even though we're multitasking, we're absorbing the information. Like science actually shows that you're absorbing the information differently when it's audio only. But when it's video and it's visual, all the senses are involved. There's a way for you to deepen that connection. You can make eye contact, because you have to think, most people, when they're watching video, they are only watching it by themselves on YouTube. They're watching YouTube by themselves. So you are talking to one human. So again, that's another reason why a lot of people get nerves around the camera thing. They're like, oh God, I'm talking to some, and I don't know who's going to click on this. My mom, my ex-girlfriends, this person, that person. And they start to sweat bullets. Yeah. And it's like, well, one, if you're a public speaker, then like, what's going on here?
You're all right. This might not be for you.
You know what I mean? But what's funny is public speakers do get nervous. Like some of the most powerful public speakers do kind of, get a little nervous with the camera. But the thing that I coach my clients on is you are just talking to one person at a time when the camera's in front of you. It is one person that's viewing that screen. It is them picking up their phone in the middle of their lunch break saying, what's on YouTube? I need some inspiration. My boss is getting on my nerves. I'm ready to quit. My spouse, my kids, somebody just sent me a text message. I'm stressed out. I just need some upliftment. I just need something. And so this is what video can do for the heart-centered people of the world. It just gives you a chance to connect with them. Even if you do something as small as like a 10-minute tip, 10-minute tip Tuesday, and you read a scripture and give them a quick little inspiration. It takes 10 minutes of your time, but the consistency of that over time, you can only imagine how that impacts your people.
That makes sense. I got a question for you. Look, I've been listening and I feel like, you've been pouring into me. So I have a question. I'm gonna open up a little bit. I'm gonna be transparent on my own show. It's my show. I can do that. I can be a little transparent. So I love what I do and I love what I'm about to do when this airs the video. But what fuels me, I feel like it's all connected. I feel like there's just synergy between what I do professionally, this, working out, ministry. When it comes to monetization, right? Monetizing your efforts. I always thought about, I don't know if I want to sell coffee mugs. My wife gets on me. She's like, you need to monetize this. Your monetization and your efforts are just, completely trash. And they are, because I think it does start with confidence. I think there's levels of confidence. I think you can be confident in this, and in another area, you're not as confident. And in another area, you might be here. It just kind of varies. Yeah, it does. It's a scale. It's a circle. So, but when it comes to it, sometimes you don't want to create something that nobody wants. right? And so like for me, like if I had to monetize my efforts, I don't know why I can't say monetization for whatever. I've been saying it in my head. I'm like, why is it not coming out? But when it comes to monetizing my efforts, I always say like I would make, workout gear. I love it. Anybody follows me on Instagram, that's what I do. That's what my wife, we were passionate about. She's my ride or die. And it's like, if I had to make anything or monetize anything, it would be that. Cause I think when it comes to the fitness industry, like it's always the same gray sweats or whatever, like I want to take that, but make it like I can wear this outside the gym. Like it just works, and like women kind of have that, but men don't have that. We just either have a t-shirt or a tank top. We don't really have a lot of options.
It's funny because my husband says this all the time. He's like, I go out to the gym and he's like, look at this. And then he's like, look at this. Like,
yeah.
What do I have on? Some old basketball sweats and a t-shirt. Yeah.
That's all they make for us. So, but how do you instill? And I guess maybe it'd be, and if you want to add on, how do you, get to that monetizing effort? When do you think you should go, forward in it? But I think it first starts with confidence. How do you instill into your client that, they shouldn't worry about if it flies off the shelf? Because as somebody that creates, somebody that's passionate and you care, and, as a professional, you're going to look at the numbers. I think any business would look at the numbers, but you're also gonna, you can't be necessarily subject to the numbers as well. So how do you take them and say, look, I know this area you're struggling at, and I want to pour into you? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. So, I mean, for everyone, it's different, right? So first of all, we have different reasons that we're afraid. Some of us are afraid of success. Some of us are afraid of rejection. And some of us are just, we have this narrative about sales that it's bad. But it's like, there's not a single business that doesn't have a sales department or sales team,
right?
Because this is the basis of business, is some level of profit. But a couple things. One, I heard this really great Les Brown quote, and he said that the more people pay, the more they pay attention.
Wow.
I'm
gonna tweet it. I'm not gonna give you credit. I'm gonna be like, the more people pay.
Right here, it hits you in your chest, man.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing. Is what you want to understand is, are you offering something of value? Are you, and go through especially if it's a product-based business. If it's a product-based business, it's a little bit different because it is a bit out of my scope, but the basics are you offering a quality product? And then it's like, well, with a product, the advantage that you have with a product over someone who has a service-based business is usually you can at least have the basis of what does it cost you to make, right? And then you take your profit margin from there and you kind of like increase it. But really what happens is people are afraid to say that they sell something or afraid to offer it. And really it's more of a conversation. This is why the relationship that you have with whomever your demographic is, whoever your ideal clients and customers are, because you want to feel like you're almost telling a friend. Sales is just the exchange of enthusiasm, says the great Zig Ziglar. That's all sales is, okay? It is just an exchange of enthusiasm. So it's like when you see a great film, right? And then you go to your friend and you're like, oh my God, man, you got to see this movie, me and my wife, or a show, right? Because now we're all like at home and binge watching our favorite shows. And so what you do is you're like, oh my God, the show is so good. When we stayed up all night, me and my wife couldn't go to sleep. It was like kept watching episode after episode. It was like this. I don't want to give it away, but it was so amazing. That is a sell.
Yeah.
And people don't think, we think of sales in terms of, some like a realtor, or we've all had a car sale in our lives. And so we have these kind of stereotypes about sales that we associate. And sometimes that blocks us from making a sale. But once you have that consistency and that connection with your people, then it is really just you sharing. Like, hey, I've got this amazing new workout gear. I know there's not a lot out there for us fellas, so this is why I created it. You could even walk them through the process of you creating the line. Tell them the story about, hey, here's why I created it. I feel like women get to look fly. They've got fabletics, they've got this, they've got that. And what do we have? And so I created this because I wanted this, and it's breathable, and it's stretchy, and it's this, and it's that, and it's multitask. You can wear it to work and then wear it to the gym or whatever those things are. But that's a sell. But all you're doing is just sharing your passion for your product.
Gotcha. I like it. I like it. Look, for all those out there, you need to connect with Trina because obviously there is a missing piece to business, and it first starts with you. I think a lot of times businesses only look at the analytics and forget the human connection to it. Even creatives, they look at the blue check, right? If that's the goal to get, verified and all that and sponsorship opportunities, but not understanding that it first starts with your story and understanding your why. Trina, you've been amazing. This has been an amazing episode. Trina, where can they connect with you? Where can they support you?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, Trina J Official. That's like my favorite platform. But you can also visit my website, which is prettymotivated.com, spelled just like it sounds. I don't know if you'll have show notes available, but yes, prettymotivated.com. They can find out all the different ways to connect with me.
Y'all connect with Trina on her website at Trina J Official on Instagram. So I always say this, get supported. And the cool thing about it is that when you subscribe and you follow somebody, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it lets the creator know, right. It lets the person know, hey, I dig what you're doing. It's amazing. I support you. And if you want to keep seeing amazing content, you know what you got to do. You got to subscribe to the YouTube page below, YouTube at CV Space K. I want to thank my guests again. And I want to thank all you out there. Until next time, guys. Thanks. Hey, what's up, everybody? You like what you saw? Were you entertained? Were you informed? We want to keep seeing amazing content. Subscribe at the link below. YouTube, CV Space K. You connect where all podcasts are streaming. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. Connect with me. I want to connect with you.